Okay, so just to get you started thinking about how you can photograph the sea, I'm going to show you some various ideas which you could think about taking photographs of. So not just pointing your camera out at the sea, but different ways of thinking about it. So firstly, look at this dramatic image here of some waves crashing over the rocks. Now obviously I wouldn't want you to get too close to this because it looks quite dangerous and ominous, but this is all about the dramaticness of that image, the dark sky and the light just hitting the whiteness of the foamy crashing wave there. It's a very dramatic image, and we don't look at much of the sea here at all. We don't see the water at all. We just see some of the foam and this dramatic sky, which gives you a really powerful effect. Secondly, this is what's called a long exposure photograph. If you've got an SLR camera, or one of your parents does, and you learn how to use your camera using different shutter speeds and apertures, you'll learn how to take a photograph over not just like a millisecond, but over a period of seconds or even sometimes minutes to record the movement of the sea. And this gives this amazing mysterious effect. Angles is something really important to think about as well. So considering this picture here, this is only a very small wave, but by taking that photograph down very close to the water's edge there, you're making it feel much more dramatic than it actually probably is. But thinking of things that are very tiny, these are miniature waves. These are only a couple of centimeters tall. But by zooming in and cropping the image, you can really focus in on the delicate detail of those waves as they start to turn over like that, which gives you a beautiful, delicate pattern. And also, rather than thinking about trying to photograph a huge amount of sea and think about big waves that are coming in, what about just focusing on one small element of water? And look at how interesting it is when you just do focus in on one small aspect of this is like a wave just about to be formed. You could also think about the depth of field. Okay, so the depth of field is the difference between the foreground and the background, and which area is in focus. And you can see here it's like the mid to foreground is in focus, so you get that really lovely contrast between the blurred background and the detailed foreground, which is a great thing to try and photograph. If you're a keen surfer and if you've got something like a GoPro or a waterproof camera, it would be fantastic to take your camera out and try and do some photography, perhaps when you're on your board or trying to take photographs of people surfing even. You get the most incredible effects, especially at different times of day like this. And talking about waterproof cameras, taking a photograph from underneath the wave, obviously got to be very careful doing this sort of thing, but you get the most dramatic and beautiful images doing this kind of thing. It's something you could explore and experiment with. Another thing you could think about is just something as simple as this. This is the reflections of water in the harbour, and you get this beautiful abstract pattern of the colours of the boats reflecting on the water. It's such an interesting thing to look at, so that could be something you could look at as well. So when you've taken all your photographs and you've got them all printed off and what have you, you also need to think about how you're going to present your work. Here are some examples of photographic presentation, but there's loads and loads of different ways you could think about it. What about photographing your work and then putting it onto bits of driftwood and making a sculpture out of it? There's all sorts of ways you could do it, and we really look forward to seeing your work in September.